Hello.
So there's a musical introduction there. And so what have we got this month?
This is a Korg Delta, which is one of the great, well, up until recently, it was one of the great ignored synths. Which it's very unusual. It's around 1978, I think. And it's a very curious beast indeed. It's basically there is a synthesizer section. If it's still working, no, it's going now. That's how it goes wrong.
That's what needs fixing.
That's what needs fixing. But there's also an independent string synth, which is some of the cheesiest strings in the world and lovely.
There's nothing quite like a 1970s string machine, is there?
They knew what they were doing when it came to cheesy things. Right, before opening up, we'll just unplug it.
Safety first,
Safety
please.
first, especially with this one.
Oh, okay. This is particularly dangerous, is it?
Right, the main problem with this one is that there was a trend, the filter in it, behind these two little holes here, there were little presets. And it became known that if you tweak those up, you could really make the filter in it really scream, which was very popular for some reason. Unfortunately, if you left it set like that, it seriously overloaded the filter circuit and damaged various components. There's a big capacitor that charges up that tended to go, and a transistor driver which would burn out, the effect of which is your filter then started, I switched it off now, basically it killed the filter and seized it up. So the only way of fixing it was to switch it off for up to 24 hours and then switch it on again. And after you've done that, if you left it on and not playing, it would just seize up by itself. So it's a bad thing to do. It's the same filter, and you've got the same problem on the Korg MS-20 as well, and the MS-10. They've all got basically the same filter with the same adjustments.
And is that what's wrong with this?
And that's mainly what's wrong with this one. This one is actually mine, and I've been meaning to mend it ever since I got it a few years back, but just haven't had time. But it's finally got to the point where it needs doing. So if we open it up, now the one modification I did make on it when I got it is, if you look, being very old school, all your components are mounted on a wooden board. Originally, the power transformer was actually nailed to the board, which I've upgraded to nuts and bolts. But this is why you make sure I make sure I unplug this one. Is that all this here is just bare live wires. So you wouldn't actually be allowed to sell one of these days.
Really?
It's, and I've done a couple for people for stage use, and we've I've actually modified that whole section into a sealed box, which is, to be honest, if you're going to be touring with one of these, it's something you should get done. It's an easy job. It's a comparatively cheap job.
Yeah.
You could even do it just by getting someone make up a plastic cover to go over the top of it all.
Yeah.
The bit I've got to get to is actually in there. I've not dismantled that yet because you've got to pull all the knobs off. But there's a little transistor I'm going to replace there and the capacitor, and there's a couple of other components I'll probably replace at the same time because while I'm there I may as well do it. But the
it's a bit like changing the oil.
The unusual thing about this synth, especially for its time, is it's totally polyphonic. You can play every single note at the same time. And that's because of the way the oscillator works. It doesn't have an actual oscillator. The sound is produced by a little. It's basically an early logic chip called a flip-flop, which basically will just change state really, really, really quickly all by itself, and that produces the top note it will play. And then all these big chips here, that's a series of dividers which divide that down into 49 different notes, one for each key, and then these other two divide those again down into different octaves. So, which is so complicated even I don't understand it now. But the effect is that basically it's a shame it isn't working anymore, but I mean you've got like all organ pedals, organ stops, you've got a 16-foot, an 8-foot, a 4-foot and a 2-foot. That's a noise generator, all of which are square waves. But because of the way it works, it's if you know about additive synths, this is actually one of the first additive synths in its own way, because if you set those like that, and that, what comes out the other end is a triangle wave. And you move that one down to there, and you get a saw wave, as well as different. So it's actually you can actually use this as a simple wave shaping device,
Right.
which actually means it's actually very versatile.
But just a different method from subtractive.
Yes. You're actually adding. I suppose in a way it's almost like an FM synth as well, in that it's with a standard FM synth you're adding sine waves together to make different different frequencies. With this it's done with square waves, and you can't shift the frequencies out of being octaves, but it's a very nice synth. The layout is lovely. It's really easy to use and play. Unfortunately, because of the way the note generating works, there is actually no way at all of MIDIing it up.
Right.
There is, or controlling it externally. There is a trigger in and out, but the trigger out simply notices that you've pushed the key and it just sends out a pulse signal. The trigger in just triggers off the envelope generator for the filter,
Right.
and that's all it does.
So can it can't even be modified? Or?
No,
Right.
it's not. It is what it is. It is a playable synth. It's not one you can really sequence. But that's how it is.
Yeah, that's a classic of its time, really. As I like
Yeah.
to say, it's sort of overlooked.
It's overlooked. Apparently, they're suddenly becoming more popular. Couple of years ago, I mean, this one actually came out for Skip. And was passed on to me, but it's a lovely thing. It's especially the string section. It's
And the mixing of the strings and the synth.
The mix. It's if we plug it in again, it might. If we switched the synth to band pass, we'll get some sound out of it. So it's only the low pass filter that dies. Yeah, in back. So yeah, you got to, well, it's clicking a bit. But yeah, you can hear this is the different stops on their own. Whoop. No, it's going. It's going again. Yeah. But yeah, so you can actually wave shape using that. It's but the string synth is completely independent. It's a standard string synth of its time. There's nothing exciting about the circuitry, but it just works so well. Yeah. You can shift it up a notch over there, and you've got yeah, it's a lovely thing.
Lovely.
If you see one, grab it.
Yeah, and they were going for sort of.
They were going. You can pick. Yeah, you could pick them up £100 for a good working example.
The last couple I've seen on eBay.
Yeah, they've got people. I think it's because basically it's the supply of old synths is kind of drying up.
Yeah.
So basically anything old now, it's it tends to be American dealers who push the prices up. It's sad because a lot of these now end up in the hands of people who just collect them and don't play them. And with any early synths, but especially analog synths, if you don't play them, they die. You know, you have to play them on a regular basis. Otherwise, the capacitors just start giving up, and you're into a major repair bill.
Use it or lose it.
Yep.